Hello, everybody. Mariner here, and welcome to Net That Haul. We are 1 week away, so we need our resident matchup specialist. Gabe, how are you? Fresh from a trip to Mexico?
Fresh from a trip to Mexico. I'm feeling refreshed. Also fresh off a stream that we were invited on, a live show earlier today, and FPL_Penguin1, FPL Penguin here on YouTube. So go check out that show. That was a ton of fun. We really appreciate that invite. It was a good chat, and it was really nice to see Mahrez and his team. So he's even trolling you, man.
Don't start me off, but just to let you know, I've already changed my draft.
There we go. Me too.
Anyway, yes, nice to have you here again, Gabe. It's just us two this week because Nima's away getting married again.
He's getting married to the same person, by the way.
Yeah, to the same person, we must add. Yes. Let's get that one right, don't you reckon? Anyway. Exactly. Anyway, not to worry. So anyway, yes, everybody, welcome to Net That Haul. It's great to see you all again. What's going to go on this week? Well, we are going to conclude our look at players, and we'll look at forwards. And yes, where do we start, Gabe? It's sort of like a bit of a barren wasteland at the low prices when it comes to assets and particularly statistics. But then we're going to obviously work our way up all the way to the big guns of Kane and Haaland and that discussion. And then we're going to throw some premiums in the mix as well, just to have a look, see how they all, how it all washes out, really. I'll tell you what also I've done as well is I've put together a section on new players, comparing the rankings from 538.com as to all, and taking the averages from all the leagues and trying to see just how difficult it is to adapt to the Premier League. So we'll have a look at that as well. And as always, you know, I just must give you the health warning of data, guys. We do not spoon feed on Net That Haul. Hashtag no spoon feeding here, ladies and gentlemen. So take everything into context and, you know, really think how you can challenge these numbers. Do in the comments, either during the live stream or if not, leave the comments down below, of course. And yes, we'll dive in. But before we do that, we want to remind you, of course, that we're all on Twitter. So at FPL Mariner, we've got Gabe at FPL Lens. And now we are quite heavily active on Discord because we've opened up a Discord channel now, and it's only there for the haulers and super haulers. So super trawlers, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not haulers. I don't know. But anyway, we'll call them super haulers. So we'll read them out in a second. I'll let you do it, Gabe. But before we do it, we may as well say what it is. If you want to join, please do. Join the channel. It's only a relatively small £1.99 a month. If you want to be a super hauler, £4.99 a month. You plow something back into the channel and help us improve even more. Basically, everybody's getting a lot more access to the data. They've also got access to us in both Discord and the voice channels. And we do intend to provide some discounted merchandise when we can get round to it. So what are you waiting for, boys and girls? Come and join us. Come and join. I'm going to read the super haulers out, Gabe, and then you can read the others. Come and join Daddybot, Greenback Golf, Sarah Gatsby, FPL Robbie, and David Harrison, who are the super haulers. And before you read my son's name out, you'll notice his name's twice because he had to rechange his YouTube. So he's there. So I'm going to say Kieran Turner's there, and now off you go, Gabe.
We also have Mr. Twister 242. Blonde is in there. S quote Scotters unquote M. Firetog. We've spoken with all these people in the Discord, and it's been nice getting to know everybody as well. FPL Teacher, of course, in the house. FPL_Rubber Ducky, who's in the chat as well. Squeak Squeak, Quack Quack, and all of that. Oscar Arias, bienvenido, Oscar. Donny FPL is also in the chat. We have Mike Halpin, the Gooner. We have Sean Burke, Jack Daglish, Nehal, of course, Kevin Rose, FPL_Saffer, who's in the chat. our Podna, William with FPL Pepsi, Craig underscore P, and Dread FPL is also a hauler. Really, it's a pleasure speaking with all of you in Discord.
It is. I have to say, it's the first time I've really got into Discord, and I'm quite enjoying it in there. I've been rattling. I've been quite active in there, rattling loads of information in there and things.
And
so
I created that channel for matchups. So just
yeah,
for our
good.
haulers, I'm going to be dropping the matchups that you see today, and then all of them for all the 17 teams that I do. They will be dropped in there. The rough drafts will be dropped in there, and then next week I will update them all with all the transfers and final thoughts for those teams before the season begins.
Bingo, sounds good to me. Let's say hello to a few people in this live stream as well. So we've got FPL Penguin, we've got Akib, FPL Lens, hello, Gabe. Rubber Ducky, quack, quack, or squeak, squeak. Blue Danube Guy, as usual. Kevin Rose, as we said. Who else have we got here? Thavindra Raj, as usual. Hi, mate. I'm still rattling down this list. Who else have we got? Donny, we've got Firetog, we've got Sea Hunt, Siva from FPL Banger. We've got a question from him later on. Donny is here, as always. David's here. Hi, nice to see you, David. Another super hauler. Well done, sir. Always very, very welcome. Thank you so much. Yes, we're all here. Shall we crack on, Gabe? We're waiting with bated breath because I think we need the guy sat on the toilet.
It's
the philosophy of the week.
It's the philosophy of the week. But speaking of bait, I know why Siva's here. I know why he's here.
You know why he's here?
I know why Siva's here.
Right.
We'll get into that later. But before we get into that, here is a very FPL themed philosophy of the week. And it comes to us by the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. And he says, to live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. And when I read this, I was trawling through these philosophy quotes. My head was about to explode, and I really felt that when I read "To live is to suffer," I knew this was the quote. This was the quote for FPL, because in about a week's time, actually, just a few hours shy of a week's time, the suffering will begin. And that suffering will change the way we think about the game. Right now, we're all, we have the preseason vibes. We all think when you look at your team and you haven't changed it in like 24 hours, and you're like, I'm gonna win FPL. I think I might win FPL, right? And then when that first game begins, you're like, oh shit. Then you remember who you really are. So finding meaning in that suffering and in those disappointments is what will give you the clarity to make good decisions moving forward. So do not despair. So just to suffer.
Well, I mean, you're saying you haven't changed your draft for about a couple of days. I've changed my draft twice in the last hour. I'm full on tinker mode now. I really am. But anyway, there we go. I've even got double Spurs defense now. What's going on? It's your fault. And you hate Spurs.
I see. I'm completely reformed, like Alexander Delarge in Clockwork Orange. Completely reformed.
Anyway, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, to live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. Welcome to Fantasy Premier League. 22-23 season. I can sense many a time we can go back to that quote and remember that poor devil sat on the toilet like that. Gabe, shall we crack on and let you go with these remaining three matchups? I think it's not remaining three, there's a couple more, but let's get these three out of the way, because I think we'll do the last three in the Game Week 1 show, I understand, isn't it?
The last two.
Last two, right, okay. So here we go. So matchups, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Chelsea. Who's first? It's Arsenal. Off you go, my friend.
London is red, white, and blue, as they say. So here's Arsenal was a really interesting study. Just to give people a recap, I created metrics for like expected data, for creativity, and for shots, and that's how I'm developing NetxG. So I've used those metrics that I've created I create those metrics based on the eye test. That's where everything starts for me, and then I use those to kind of come up with these matchups analysis for every team before the season. After the season starts, and there will be actual matchups, one team versus another. But I'll continue to use this format. So Arsenal, from an expected data perspective, they are so less than 2 XG non-penalty separated Arsenal, Tottenham, and Chelsea last season, and that they formed a really tight second tier with Liverpool and Manchester City obviously being in the first tier. However, the big difference for Arsenal is that their expected goals on target non-penalty, so their post-shot XG there, was 46.58. That's more than 60 less than their expected goals non-penalty, and that drops them into a fourth tier with teams like Villa, West Ham, and United. So from an expected data perspective, it was Arsenal's finishing and then the quality of their shots that was really holding them back. In my opinion, that's what kept them out of top four last season. So from a creativity perspective, this surprised me. They created the most chances per 90 from the center of the field. So that's 4.89 chances per 90, but they couldn't finish those chances. So obviously they bring in Gabriel Jesus, and with his finishing, the thinking is if they can maintain that creativity, which is equal or at least it rivals Tottenham and Chelsea, and they can just polish up their finishing with Gabriel Jesus, there could be a lot of fantasy goodness there. The other thing from a creativity perspective is Arsenal have a really big home and away split. So this is their goals, plus 10 goals at home, goals can goals conceded. I forgot to put the number in there, but I think it was 14. It's minus 14.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, plus 14.
Yeah. Oh, goals conceded plus 14 away. So they concede 14 more goals away. They scored 10 more goals at home. Shots on target, plus 32 at home. Shots on target conceded, plus 31 away. So almost the exact amount difference there, which is interesting. And then shots in the box, plus 80 at home and plus 71 conceded away. So really big home away split. We'll see if Arteta can kind of drill the system, I think, into them a little bit more, where they show more consistency, where they're playing maybe that 4-3-3, and people know their roles a little bit more, and they don't change so much. Maybe they don't go into a shell so much when they go away, or they don't overextend themselves. From a shots perspective, what I did is I compared Martinelli, Emil Smith-Rowe, and Nketiah, who are all kind of vying for that left wing spot. And I just to show, I have Martinelli, for full disclosure, I have Martinelli in my team, and what this doesn't take into account is that he could be on penalties. He probably is on penalties, so I think that gives them the extra bump, and he's only 6 million. But from a points per start perspective, Martinelli 4.5, ESR 4.7, and Nketiah 5 points per start. Shot accuracy, Martinelli 30.8%, ESR 57.5%, and Nketiah 44.8%. And goal conversion, we have Martinelli 11.5%, ESR 25%, and Nketiah 17.2%. So if what Arsenal need is finishing, and Martinelli doesn't develop that finishing, if he hasn't developed it in the offseason, then I could see him at some point being a rotation risk. I mean, the thing about Martinelli is that he does a lot of other things really well, as Nima has mentioned in previous pods. So it's not all about the shots. This is purely a shots analysis. But I could see if Martinelli doesn't get more accurate shots, doesn't convert more, I could see him being subbed early or even replaced at some point. And that is a concern for me.
Gabe, we've just got a bit of just one or two of the lads are saying there's a bit of an echo. I'm just going to check I'm just unsharing the screen a second. I'm just going to check my sound, see if it might be my speaker coming through as well. So I don't know if you want to just check yours as well. Is that any better, guys? Am I okay? Can you hear it okay? Can you just pop in the chat whether it's improved any, please?
Yeah, apologies for that. This has happened to me before, and I don't know if my mic is broken. This happened last time, but is this any better, guys?
Any better?
Okay.
My sound's fine, apparently. It sounds like it might be you, mate.
Yeah.
All right, look, we'll just have to try and just crack on, I suppose. I don't think we can do an awful lot else, really. So anyway, do you want to? Do we need to carry on this one then?
I did have the tactical focus, but hopefully Gravy Dave says this is better. It's fine now. Okay, good. I'm gonna just get through the tactical focus, and then take some questions. Or if
all right, yeah, keep going. And I'm just messing around with the settings at this side. Just
I changed the setting on my end as well, so all right. They say it's fine now. So apologies for that. Somebody did mention that to us last week as well. That my sound was off, so I'm glad we were able to fix it here. So just really lastly here, the tactical focus on Arsenal. They had a problem with finishing, not chance creation, as we said. Martinelli needs to improve. Having the most chances created in the center, but only the 8th most big chances. I find a problem when you create a lot of chances in the center. You should be creating big chances from that area. So I'd like to see that increase for Arsenal. Let's see. Oh, and then Zinchenko. Will he be? I do see him playing the Cancelo role, but now with the Thomas Partey's transgressions and Tierney's injury, I think there could be just a little bit of instability there because I don't know who's going to play that right side of central midfield. It could be Lokonga, and then Zinchenko would play left back, and Xhaka would play the left D mid.
Yeah, interesting. I'm on Chelsea now for some reason. I jumped past. I have, haven't I? Hang on a minute. I need to. I'm gonna have to mess around with the systems again. Let me carry on. I'll tell you what we're going to do whilst we're just messing around with these systems, Gabe. We had a big nice debate on with FPL Penguin earlier on about Arsenal, didn't we? And in particular about the defensive assets. I know we're talking about attackers forwards today, but the debate was Gabriel against Zinchenko, among others. I'm on Gabriel, you're on Zinchenko, or you were, because I fancy quite fancy Gabriel for a header or two, quite early doors. And also we had the debate about Martinelli last night. Certainly my thread on Martinelli. I just can't turn him down at 6 million. Whereabouts are you with that? Just whilst I mess around, I'll come back.
So I'll talk about Martinelli a little bit. I've struggled to take him out of my team as well. 6 million on pens. Even if he is rotation proof, one I believe in the player. I've seen his quality. I do think he'll clean up his finishing. The other thing is he does so much off the ball for the team as well, and he does do like his shot creating actions. He drives into the box, and sometimes his shots create other shots as well, even if his shots aren't good. So I think Martinelli is a good player that will give Arteta what he needs. But I don't see Smith Rowe and Nketiah, two players that Arsenal have invested a lot in over the years, a lot of development in. I don't see them just staying on the sideline. I see that I think that's going to develop into a rotation, and that concerns me a little bit. Of course, there are players you could jump to from that, but I don't think I have Martinelli in my team, but I don't think he's an absolute lock.
No, it's an interesting one. It's just the value, I think, for me. That's where I just can't seem to get away from this thing with the value. But right, anyway, let me get back to this page, and then we're good to go. I'm back. We're back in line. We when it's live, guys, we do have some fun and games. But yeah, there we go.
Right. And adventures and misadventures.
Right, there we are.
All right, so we're on Tottenham now.
Right.
Okay, this should be good.
There we go. Sorry, my friend. We're done now.
We're on Spurs. Okay. Yeah, so here we go, confronting the bias, right? From an expected data perspective, it's interesting that they didn't outperform their expected stats as expected. That's a lot of expected there. But they were only plus 0.22 XG delta non-penalty. So they were right around their XG. But what happened was it was almost like 2 seasons for Spurs. Obviously, they started with Nuno Espirito Santo, and Kane. I think in the first 14 game weeks he only had 2 returns. So they were underperforming quite a bit at the beginning of the season. And then they were at the end of the season, they were overperforming to like unsustainable levels. And where's Spurs? I think Spurs is more the latter half of the season Spurs than the beginning of the season, and they will outperform their stats. I think this year. So I expect that to be like come back to the norm. I expect Kane to start firing again. I don't think he's going to blank that many times in the first 14 game weeks. Again, that was quite unlucky, I think. From a creativity perspective, they had the highest ratio of big chances to chances. So 27.4% of their chances were big chances, but they were mid-table for big chance conversion with only 42.3% conversion. They have to that's where, and I think that was more at the beginning of the season. So again, the beginning of the season stats are kind of like dragging these stats down. Interesting. Perisic has 3.41 shot creating actions per 90, and I think that's why he's a game changer, and that's why I've recently put him in my draft, like this morning after our stream with Penguin. We were talking about him, so he went into my draft today. What else we have from a shots perspective? I think they only have 56 shots in the six last season, and then when you think of Spurs, they should be getting Kane should be getting headers in there. They should be getting far post tap-ins. I think that needs to improve. That was less than Arsenal, West Ham, and equal to Brentford. So not very good. I think they should do better there. Tactical perspective, the tactical focus here is they're known as a team that consistently outperforms their stats, but they were right in line with the stats last season. I don't think Kane will underperform like he did though. So I expect those stats to kind of change. And then the additions of Perisic and Basuma are game changers. I know some people think that Højbjerg is going to continue to start. I see Basuma and Betancourt together in the long run, and I think that's just a formidable central midfield pairing. And I think that'll change the team. And then the images I have here are Perisic, and just to show like what he brings to the team. If you look at his defensive stats, so Perisic is a converted winger, and when Conte converted him to a wing back, that's when he would only play 45 minutes or 60 minutes or even less, or come on as a sub. And all of his defensive stats are in a really low percentile. So this graphic is from FBref, but if you look at the shot creating actions, 96 percentile. From live passes, shot creating actions from live passes, 99th percentile. And then you look at like where those come from, and they're almost all crosses. In the one above, the second from the bottom, it's pass types per 90. He's in the 98th percentile for crosses with 4.83 crosses per 90. And I just see those really just landing on Kane. And that's why I also have Kane in my most recent draft, is because of the influence of Perisic and his shot creating actions.
Yeah, Perisic is a player that, until I started looking at this when you sent it across to me, I mean, it's not a player I've really considered, but it might be a way for me to say I've been struggling, and I think a lot of us are struggling with finding that extra $500,000. And I think Perisic might be the way to do it. Doherty is definitely the way to do it if indeed he starts. And I'd love to know, because I think I'd probably go that way for an extra $500,000 saving if indeed I could. But no, I like that. I've had Kulusevski in my drafts. Spurs literally scare the living daylights out of me with those home fixtures. So I have to try and get something from them. But that's interesting.
The one thing I didn't mention is I expect Richarlison's role to be similar to Jota's when he went to Liverpool. And I think Richarlison has experience playing in all three positions on that front line. And I think he will play all three positions on that front line. The first player he'll come in for, though, is Kulusevski.
Yeah.
Kulusevski's still young. He's 22. He's going to be inconsistent. And Richarlison has great positional awareness, and his pressure is superb. He really knows how to press the ball. So if they're looking for a goal, if they need the ball, then Richarlison's going to be in there.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Okay, so that's Spurs. I've asked for some questions. If you've got any questions, guys, do get them in this section. Gabe can always quickly answer them right now, our resident coach. Chelsea. This is an interesting one because I don't have a single Chelsea player in my draft, and a little birdie tells me that you did, and now you don't.
Yes. Are penguins birds?
Huh?
Are penguins birds? I guess penguins are birds, right? Did Penguin tell you this?
No,
I
I know.
I
You
showed my
told
draft
me.
on Penguin.
Yeah, you
On
told me you
Penguin.
brought Ramsdale in, right?
Yeah, so I had Benjamin Mendy in goal, and I got rid of him. I brought Ramsdale in and did a little reshuffling, and it's basically when it's mostly because of not because of Chelsea's performance, certainly against the Arsenal. It's more about Thomas Tuchel, and I think since last season we've been seeing a little bit of a slide from him tactically and just from a like human being perspective. The guy seems to be um, he gets like this when things get difficult. Tuchel gets his panties in a bundle and he starts lashing out at people. So. Um, let's get to the stats though, and the matchups. And for the expected stats, they performed almost exactly to their expected stats. This was quite remarkable, actually. When I clicked through all of the stats and all the tables we had, it was obviously Chelsea finished in third, and their stats, their XG non-penalty, third with 65.1, expected goals on target, third with 66.7, third for goals with 76 goals, second for expected goals conceded non-penalty with 35.06, and third for expected goals on target conceded. So the quality of the shots that they faced were even like third, I guess, third worst shots in the league faced. So that I thought that was really interesting. They are exactly who they are, I guess. But the thing about Chelsea is, again, similarly to Spurs, but reversed, they were excellent at the beginning of the season when they had their wing backs, when they had Chilwell and when they had Reece James on the as a wing back and not as a center back. They were flying. They could attack different ways. They could combine through the middle, as we saw, I believe it was against Norwich, or they could attack the wings, like we saw against teams that play three at the back. So they and then they lost those wing backs, and Tuchel started playing guys like Christensen, despite knowing that Christensen was going to be leaving that year. I thought he made some poor tactical choices in terms of personnel as well. Um, so that just something to watch out for. From a creativity perspective, they created 2.47 big chances per 90, which is good for fourth, but they only converted 43.6% of them, which is the same as Brentford. So like mid-table for their big chance conversion. I don't know that they've added. I mean, they added Raheem Sterling. I don't see Raheem Sterling as a great finisher. I do see him as better than what they had though, so we should expect some improvement there. Chances created from left, right, and center. It was oops, that number is wrong. It was actually 138 from the left, 152 from the center, and 152 from the right. It should shift more to the left with Chilwell healthy and Sterling at playing on that side. So I expected them to have a more even attack than they had last season. Maybe even tilted more towards the left. From a shots perspective, they had the third lowest ratio of shots in the six to shots in the box. So which was only 10.4% of their shots in the box were shots in the six. And that's, I mean, you want to say they don't have a nine. They had Lukaku, but he didn't really serve them as a nine. But then they didn't get that penetration, basically. And I think that's not just the Lukaku problem. I think that was a creativity problem because they didn't have their wingbacks as well. Um, but they did boast the third most shots in the box in the division. So they did have they get 10 shots in the box per 90, which is really good. If they can finish up that, if they can kind of clean some things up and create a little bit more, then I think they would or convert a little bit more, then they could see some goodness there. Tactically, we mentioned the loss of Chilwell last season. Chilwell returning, so Chilwell has a 23.1% goal conversion and Sterling has a 22.8% goal conversion. This is quite decent, for comparison. I think Son is 25%, so it's just below Son, and so I think that's why the attack will be balanced. So yeah, I think Chelsea is very much a wait and see. There's nobody wants to play there. Everybody wants to leave. Their on-field performances have not been good, and the responses to those on-field performances have also not been good. So they're very much just a stay away for now for me.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I do see. I mean, I was been chit chatting about the 2.5 as I've been saying, with players like Sterling. But yeah, I think we don't need, not at this stage. But I tell you what, I actually quite like the look of Sterling. I think potentially later in the season, I can possibly see myself owning Sterling for sure. If I was to start with a Chelsea defender, I think Chilwell probably is where I would go, providing he's still fit. But I'm probably going to go without them because I just think there's better options. I think those home games for Spurs are very tasty for clean sheets, and obviously some people will go double Liverpool, some people might try double City. I'm not objectionable to double Arsenal, although I don't necessarily like double Arsenal defence given the Palace game, the first game. That does concern me a little bit. But yeah, good. I was just seeing if there was a couple of questions. There was one thing about so Donny, actually, just a statement really. One factor on Martinelli is his age. He's only just turned 21. Lots of improvement to come, I agree. And the Brazilian factor, I think that's key for me. I said on Penguins stream earlier on, I'm very, very excited at the way they're going to partner up.
William, do you remember when Milivojevic was an option, and he was a 6 million midfielder that played basically central midfield. Martinelli is a winger. He's going to be attacking and on pens. At 6 million, it's even if he is a rotation risk, I think he's a
good price, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a very, very good price. William, do you see Arsenal becoming a B-Tech Man City? A B-Tech Man City, a student? In terms of a forward line in constant rotation, or do we still have two completely nailed attackers in Saka and Jesus?
That's a good question. I actually do see a rotation there because Gabriel Jesus in his career has liked to pull out to the right side, and Saka, and so I think Gabriel Jesus and Saka will be kind of like going in and out and interchanging. But I think the left side will the combination on the left side will be with the wing back, and if they can get Tierney at the wing back playing well and healthy, and Zinchenko at left defensive mid, then both of them will combine with the pacey Martinelli, Smith Rowe, or Nketiah on that left side. So it's going to be different attacks on each side, and Jesus will combine more with Saka, in my opinion.
Fair enough. All right, shall we crack on? So what we're going to do now then is we're going to have a look at these new assets, and there is we've got one question as well which we can throw out in this group, I think. So look at these new assets. So what we got? So we've got Undav and we've got Solanke there. So how are these new assets going to take to the Premier League? As I say, I used 538.com. I'm not sure if you've ever come across that, Gabe. And it gives you some rankings for each team, attacking and defensive. So obviously what I'm using this because I'm looking at how strong the defenses are. I'm using the defensive rankings. And what I've done is I've averaged them out for each league. And basically, obviously, there's tons and tons of caveats. But basically, how high a hurdle has someone got to leap over when they come into the Premier League? Notwithstanding the fact that there's issues like obviously you might have some better service and this, that, and the other. You're a year older, you've improved, you've got better coaching, this, that, and the other. So there's tons of caveats, but at the same time, I think it's quite interesting. And the first thing I'm going to say is, and I've probably mentioned this before, is last year I predicted Tony to score 12 goals before the start of the season, and he did. And that was with a 66% uptick in difficulty of defence from the Championship to the Premier League. That was last season. It's now 73%. It's more difficult. So there's the thing. The first things first, coming out the Championship as a striker now into the Premier League, according to 538, according to statistics, it's tougher. The defence side of things are getting tougher. Obviously, looking at the leagues and just running down this, so we've got the Premier League at the very, very top. Okay, then we've got the Spanish Primera Division, 5% more difficult. Or 5% easier, sorry, I should say.
Easy.
Then the Bundesliga, 17%. Then French Ligue 1, 27%. Serie A, 34%. Portugal League 49. Even the Premier League's harder than much easier than the Champions League, according to this, because of the fact that there are weaker teams in those Champions League groups. I know there's some great teams there, but look, and then English Championship. Look, you see, Dutch League 64, Championship 73, Belgian League 88%. 88. That's a long way, right? So if we're going to look at a few players, and I think this is what we'll do now. So obviously there's the obvious ones, right? So who's the obvious one? Well, we all know who the obvious one is, right?
Can we just? I love that the Chinese Super League, the Chinese Super League at the bottom is 201.
That's a good stat, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you score 10 goals in the Chinese Super League, you're going to score 10 own goals in the Premier League.
I mean, I'm not sure we're going to have anyone coming out of the Chinese Super League coming to play this, but yeah, I mean,
look, Tevez went there. People went
there. Humor me, Gabe. Humor me, please. I actually really like this. I think it gives a great context.
It's a great graphic
to leagues. And it's just a general thing. I did it last year, but did it slightly differently. But yeah, the Belgian, to put it in context, that Belgian league is worse than the Championship. And slightly, but it's basically the top of League One.
It's worse than the Greek league, as William FPL Pepsi says.
This, yeah. Anyway, let's have a look at some of these players. So Haaland, for example, 17% difficulty. But I mean, look, he scored 22 goals from 24 starts. So straight away, if he's on the pitch, if he's on the pitch longer than that, it will not take him long to be up at that number or even potentially higher. And you can see if it was exactly the same, 22 goals, 8 assists. If he had that 17% drop off, 18 and 6 with the same minutes. But if he played the full season, 29 and 11. Now, of course, it's probably going to be somewhere in between, isn't it? But at the low end, his value is terrible because he's expensive. And I think this is the one thing we will see with a lot of forwards today. The values are not great. They're really not. Now, of course, we don't see, nobody's saying Haaland's a bad pick. He's going to be, from time to time, he's going to go completely crazy, isn't he? But you can see that, he's got to be on the pitch, because if he's not on the pitch, it's going to be a problem. So where are you, first of all, with this type of analysis, Gabe? And then I'll quickly rattle through the others. I want to touch on Nunes, for example, particularly. But where are you on all this analysis? I mean, you know me, I'm a big stat man. You're probably going to throw even more caveats than I've even thought of.
I'm a big questions person. Not so much so for answers, though. I think this is a perfect place to start when evaluating a player. Just starting with this matchup percent difficulty, and then add the context from here. I think it adds a nice baseline. So if we're looking at, at 24 starts, I don't know. I think if he's healthy, he will start more than 24 matches. But Pep, to get him to City, one of the things they told him, so he wouldn't go to Madrid, is that at Madrid he will have to play all the time, every single game, 90 almost every single game. At City, they had the depth where they could rotate him and they could keep him fresh, and they could and they say, or that's what I've read, is that's one of the reasons he chose City. So I think there will be, I think the 18 and 6 is a good number to start with. If he's targeting that, he's not a player to have for the entire season.
No,
right?
That's right.
Pick the times, but you have to know what those times are first, and we won't know that until the Community Shield.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, probably for the first 4 or 5 weeks, he's probably going to play more. He probably needs minutes on the pitch. He's probably going to be out there. But I was listening to, and I don't know if you've been listening to the Correspondence Week on Planet FPL. Shout out to them if you're not listening. If you're not listening or watching that, what are you waiting for? Get that some of the best content I've heard in a long time.
It's a massive haul of content, and it's
super
super informative. Really
get
good.
on there and listen to that. And one of the things everyone said, I think it was James. He said, and of course, I think Forrester in game week 5 midweek. He said, you watch Haaland rest that game.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the games start to pile up, isn't it? Game week 5. So, but yeah, I mean, look. It's gonna be a case of getting on him at the right time. You're absolutely right, but it just shows that players at a high level, price-wise, have got to go some to get that value. Got to go some. Let's keep moving. Let's have a look at Nunes. Okay, so Nunes is coming out of the Portuguese league, which is 49% easier than the Premier League. Right. Okay, he scored 26 times and 4 assists. But that now equates to 13 and 2. Now, of course, and I've already seen it, the drop, Mr. Twister, you're absolutely right. I can put this same statement in now. The drop-off could be compensated because he'll get better supply. Of course, that's entirely possible. But that just shows again just how difficult potentially it could be for a player coming out the Portuguese league to come into the Premier League and succeed straight away.
Well, especially since he's not a starter. So I think people think like...
Which was the great question, because what was Banger's question? It was, I'm looking for it now, probably Siver. How do you possibly say no to a 9 million Liverpool striker playing Fulham with a 34-year-old Tim Ream at centre-back in game week 1? Really easy if Firmino starts.
Firmino's still alive. He was injured most of last season, and he's the starter. He started that match. Darwin Nunez came in at the end, and the hype on Darwin Nunez is unreal in my opinion. Most scouting reports that I've read of his are really quite poor. They say he like lucked in the goals or bumbled into goals. I think he's there. Darwin Nunez is there to learn, to play the game of football. He is an imposing presence, and he'll get in there, when they need something on occasion. Maybe Firmino will drop into the 10 role, and Nunez can move up into the 9 role. These things will happen, but Bobby Firmino's the guy.
And he brings something different to them as well, doesn't he? As well, but I'm just making a point and saying, look, it could be quite difficult. That's potentially quite a big step up. Now, of course, Klopp's seen something, and that's the reason why he's bought him. So, look, I've no problem with it. I've no problem with him. He's not for me right now. Will I own him during the season? Probably not. I think it's going to be very difficult for me to get to the players like that with all the other players, and particularly players like Gabby Jesus and people like that kicking around. But let's keep going, because now I'm going to get to a player who's everyone's nemesis, who come out of the Championship, of course. But my goodness me, Mitrovic, 43 goals and 7 assists for Fulham. But he's got a 73% drop-off. But that still puts him at 12 and 2 and a value close to 20 points per million, which actually isn't too bad. Obviously... we're going to summarize it all in a minute, but now we're dropping down in price. Now you can see how difficult potentially it is for players, or for some players perhaps, to come out of the Championship, and they are in teams which are weaker.
I mean, so the thing, Fulham, that they obviously had a historic and exciting season in the Championship last season, but they're not going to have the ball that much anymore.
Well, there is that.
What are they going to do without the ball? That's what I don't know. And we're going to learn because of their early fixtures and how scattered they are. I think we're going to learn a lot about them in the first month. And I think Mitrovic will be a very popular pick at some point in the season when their
fixtures are easier.
When their fixtures are easier, and when we know what Fulham, like who they are. They will not be the same team we saw. Rubber Ducky says, duck off, Mitrovic. Yeah, he's not a likable person, is he? Mitrovic is not a likable person.
I think there's one or two. I think people have been burnt by this gentleman in the past, perhaps. That's maybe why some of the the ire is going on in the chat. But look, let's face it, 73%. So guess where I'm going next? I'm going to Belgium. Are you ready? A 5.5 million asset, okay, for Brighton, with defenses 20 coming out of a league where the defenses are 20% weaker than the Championship. He got 11 hauls in the Belgian league, 11. But he only hauled once in the playoffs. There was 5 games. He blanked 4 times, and he scored a haul against Anderlecht. So the moment he got against the tougher teams, he dried up. The best ranked defense in the Belgian league, I've got a bit more data on this because this is one I managed to do some research on it, was Club Bruges. There's only Fulham, Forest, and Bournemouth worse than that in the Premier League. So, look, he's 5.5 for a reason. Somebody said in the Discord chat, he's absolutely right. But that is a great example of somebody who, no doubt, is on the up. No doubt, is a fantastic player, but he's gonna take time to settle down, I think, and that's why I'm going to come on to the younger assets, that these new assets. And as you see, when we start looking at stats and things like that, we're going to be moving past that price range pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
Pretty quick. Gabe, I'm going to put the summary up now because I think this is even more interesting. You'll see I've chucked a load more players in now. So I've put Solanke in, I've put Johnson, Forrest in as well. How do we say his name? I always think this is one for you. Awoniyi.
Awoniyi.
And
I think the
Scamacca.
accent is on the final I. Awoniyi.
Yeah, and also Scamacca, who's signed this week. So let's have a quick look at this. Obviously, I've highlighted who's the easiest options coming out of the easiest to transition. That's the Bundesliga. Okay. Who has the best fixture difficulty out the first these new assets? Nunes in game week 1 to 5 and Haaland in 6 to 10. Who has potentially the best value on the basis of pure conversion using the leagues? Mitrovic. Then we go down and we look at some of these other players, and we obviously talked about Undab. Solanke, 7 goals, 2 assists potentially. Johnson, who has been talked up a hell of a lot, and I don't know anything about him, and I love, you know me, I need to research this lad because he looks about 4. He looks a kid, but he apparently, according to it's Mark Suddens who did the correspondence on. He prefers him over Awoniyi. Mm-hmm. He prefers him. Yet Awoniyi out of the Bundesliga, his conversion of it, or his drop off, will be less, 12 goals potentially, because he came out of Union Berlin with 15 goals, 1 assist, right? And Scamacca, 16 goals and no assists out of Serie A, 11. I think that price at 7 million is just too high. I would have loved to have seen him a bit cheaper.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking the same. 6.5 Scamacca, and he's a player,
and
he could become an option sometime this season.
Yeah, I just think 7 million. You've got other players as well that kicking around at that price. I think he's just that bit expensive. Johnson at Forest. Oh, do you know what? God, if it had been 5.5, but I don't know. Where are you with this? I mean, we're not going to spend an awful lot of time on these new assets, but just to sum it up, where are you with this whole concept and things like that?
I mean, I think the fixtures are really dictate a wait and see mentality with these. I don't think Nunes is an option at all until he gets some starts. If he can displace Firmino, or if Firmino drops into the 10, then we can start considering him. But at 9 million, it's just too much. I'm not going to punt you on something so expensive. Haaland is obvious. Haaland he's an obvious pick. Add captaincy to that, and the value will increase as well. Add minutes to that if they are able to keep him healthy. I think he's we don't even have to talk about the details. It's just quite obvious. But it's a good place to start, like I said.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, 100%. And just to finish off, Skamaka, 16 goals from 10.8 XG.
Mm-hmm.
Guy can finish.
Yep, guy can finish. Recently been called up to. He's been playing for the Italian national team. Obviously, they're not going to the World Cup, so they're experimenting with some of the youngsters, and he's done well.
Okay, right. So that's that section. I hope you enjoyed that. The conclusion from Mr. Twister 242 is avoid. I don't know. I don't know whether I quite agree with that. I mean, players like Haaland, obviously. I think anyone below Haaland, I think you could probably oppose everyone.
Yeah.
You can find a way to oppose every single player in that section. But I wanted to give it some context. And I think hopefully it does. And maybe we'll come back to it at the end of the season. We'll see whether actually our predictions were right. Let's see what happens. All right, Gabe, it's time to look at forwards. Under 6 million. And look who we've got here. Mr. Woodwork himself. Umbumo.
What did he hit the woodwork 6 times last season? Was it 6?
Yes.
7?
Yes, he took over the Woodworkio prize
from Watkins, right?
Whatever we want. What we're looking for? What word I'm looking for? It's very late in Singapore, honestly, mate. I'm getting rather tongue-tied. But look, I mean, what I wanted to do, as always, we look at these power tables, but this is going to be quick, right? Because forwards under 6 million or 6 million and under by minutes, Wood, Umbumo, Broja, Edouard, Armstrong, Southampton, right? That's it. Apart from that, nothing much there with respect to nailedness. And in the last 6 games, again, Umbumo, Broja, Wood, Mateta, Edouard. We can't trust Palace. We don't know who's going to start there.
Mm-hmm.
There really is not a lot. Now, Broja might turn up somewhere. If he turns up somewhere, he could all of a sudden become an asset, a talking point again. Hell, he might even turn up to be a talking point at Chelsea the way we're going. But look, I mean, with all honesty, when we start looking at the performance and production of these 6 million players, Mateta's there. You could argue against him. Is he gonna be nailed? The fixtures are awful. Geldart at Leeds is interesting. Could have a breakout season at some stage. Could be, but Bamford's back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then we've got Umbumo, and then nothing much really. Gale, Daka, Rondon, Wood. Nothing. There's just nothing there with respect to the statistics, probably for a reason. That's why they're so cheap.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing worth mentioning is, we've talked about this before. I do believe Archer is the best 4-5 forward. The reason is because his ownership is quite low, 4.5%. So his price isn't likely to drop. And in my opinion, he's the best player just as a footballer at 4-5. So if Wennings gets hurt and when Watkins is misfiring, I think he could see some random time, but it's more because the price won't drop. The only player really here is Umbumo, and I think with their early fixtures, I think that money's just better invested elsewhere in a different position.
I think if you were actually playing with 3 forwards, I think he probably is the logical 3rd pick.
Yeah, I agree.
If you were playing, and because Brentford's fixtures, quite honestly, apart from a little bit of a bump, are pretty good.
Yeah.
And he'll get the odd goal. He'll get a few goals. He's not going. I can't see him tearing trees up, but I can see him getting something. So I wouldn't be against him if you were playing 3 up. By power rank, there we go. And Umbumo then leaps to the top. Daka as well now. All of a sudden,
could be an option at some point this season.
Yeah,
he's a quality player. He's a good finisher. So
yeah, Daka appears and then Broja. So yeah, and I mean, again, it's all about maybe if Vardy gets another injury, no doubt his leg will fall off at some stage for a while this season again. It always happens. He's getting on a bit, isn't he? Brilliant option still for that price, but we'll come on to him in a bit. But yeah, ultimately players like might be, if you were looking for a breakout player, Gabe, out of this gang, who would you actually go for?
Daka.
Hmm.
If I were to
him or
guess
Geldart for
one
me.
of these is going to break out at some point this season, it would be Daka.
Yeah, I would him or Geldart for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, right. So that's that. So now let's keep going. So that's the power tables. We're not going to go in any great detail. Come across to the show, and if you're listening to this, come across the show and have a look, because I want to get into the other side, because I want to give a sense check this time with the predictions, and look at the predictions. They have just gone completely against what I said. They like Johnson from Forest, 21.1 points between game week 1 and 5. I was wondering whether it was drunk or not. What do you think? I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, look, Forest might be thinking they're going to score against Newcastle. Who knows?
I don't see Johnson averaging 4 points a week.
No. It seems a bit odd to me. And Mbumo, yes, I can see that. Solanke, Awoniyi, Geldart, nothing much there really. I really find that prediction for 21 points quite hard to believe. But hey, look, predictions there to be shot at, right? I do it all the time.
Can't argue with the numbers. Those are the numbers.
Yeah. So all these shiny new toys, and quite frankly, probably not many you would be considering unless you were looking at playing with that third striker. And to be honest with you, I'm not this year. I know there's some drafts I'm seeing with just one up top. I'm not sure I quite like those, but yeah, some of them just playing one up top. All right, let's get on to the main event then, really, because now we're starting to talk, aren't we?
Okay.
Because 6.5 to 8. This is really where the gem might leap out. It probably already is. So who's going to netto that haul, Gabe? Is it going to be Gabby Jesus? Well, according to the on-field stats for the last six game weeks, it was actually the person who was actually top is actually Danny Welbeck. Interestingly enough. Now, God, no, I ain't going anywhere near Brighton. No, but to be fair, he was in quite a lot of form at that point, wasn't he? He was in form. I mean, Manchester United played him into form, didn't they? I think.
That was the. I think your metric is broken.
No, it probably is. It was broke last year when it picked Benteke out, wasn't it? Can you remember? You remember when it picked Benteke out and you all fell about laughing? But anyway, there we go. But Jesus is second. Okay, there. So with respect to the on-field stats, so third for goals, second for points per start, 6 for bonus points, 3 for anytime 3 for returns. Is obviously so that totals up production to 4, which is all your on-field stats. Of course, his fixture difficulty is 7, so that's not too bad. It's on the top. Arsenal's fixture difficulty does take a bit of a beating because of that Palace game, because it doesn't like it, does it? But he's sat there as a really, really solid pick. Obviously, that's Manchester City stats. We know that. How's that going to change? Werner's third, Ducky. Yeah, I know that. That's why I owned him for a while. I didn't own him for long. But Nketiah fourth. Nketiah fourth.
Sorry, Mariner. There's a 4-goal game that's kind of propping up his stats as well, I think. That's an anomaly. So
yeah, no, true.
They are a little bit inflated. Also, a different team, as you mentioned.
Yeah, true enough. But anyway, look, stats are stats. But these are the numbers. When now I factor in the fixture difficulty, and actually Firmino jumps to the top.
Those fixtures are so good.
Yeah. Werner and Havertz then. Oh my God. Havertz is an interesting discussion, but not for me, not now. Maybe in the future, Havertz might be a discussion later in the season. Where are you on Havertz, mate?
I'm not thinking about Havertz at all.
Not at the moment. Not at all? Or would you not even consider him at any stage during the season?
No, I mean, I can't predict what's going to happen, Mariner. You know me.
You owned him last year, didn't you?
Did I own? I don't
I
remember.
think so.
I mean, Havertz, he could be an option at some point. He's just like to start the season. Like, there's so much information we're taking in. To consider Havertz at this point, I think would just be noise.
But of course, if you look at the minutes on the far side, you see Tony, number 1 ranked for minutes. 7 million, of course. We're not quite sure what's going to happen with Brentford with respect to their attacking returns now. Eriksen's not there. But, you know, again, their fixture difficulty is not too bad, but that's going to be affected by the fact Eriksen's not there. But he's not an awful selection either at 7 million. But quite frankly, I don't know many people who will be going anywhere near that. And of course, Martial's not really going to be showing much. He didn't spend many minutes. I think to me, if I was to think about players, and obviously there's still a lot can go on between now and the transfer deadline, but if you were to ask me which 2 players I would probably more than likely own during the season, it'll be, as it stands, it'll be Martial, and it'll be obviously Jesus is a complete no-brainer at this moment in time. What about you?
If Ronaldo goes and it looks like Martial is going to lead that line, then I will probably downgrade Martinelli in midfield and upgrade Archer. I have a little bit in the bank and upgrade Archer to Martial and go with the 3 up top.
Yep. I think Martial potentially is excellent. I mean, good God, 7 million for Martial. You know, crazy.
For Martial under Ten Hag, with Bruno and Eriksen behind him potentially. It could be huge.
No, it's quite incredible, isn't it? But should we have a look, see what Hub think about all this as well? Jesus top 26.4 points. Welbeck 23.9. They agree with me, Gabe. What's going on? Are they drunk as well as I am?
Apparently they are, because they have Calvert-Lewin third with 23.1. So yes, they're absolutely smashed right now.
And an injured player fifth, even better.
Yeah, they're definitely
Tony fourth and Jimenez fifth. So yeah, okay. I mean, look, there's probably a reason why why Jesus is 60% plus owned right now. I think if well, I don't know. It will clearly drop if Martial, if stars start to align for Martial a little bit. I think people will see an opportunity to saving a bit of money. But at the moment, there's not much of a discussion there, really, is there? I think the issue is, how many Arsenal do you have? That's the thing. I mean, I can't even have my evil laugh anymore about him.
Let's remember last year when they lost to Brentford. I don't know. It's Arsenal.
Oh, well, you never know. I could have a bit of an evil laugh in game week 10. Let's see. Let's see if Neiman dare come on in game week 2 if they lose. Anyway, we want Neiman on in game week 2 because I want him to do his transfer trends. He's got to get them back because that makes me laugh. It's quite bad language, but it's perfect. It's right up my street, as you know. So, all right, then let's have a look at the top end of the forwards. And again, by on-field last 6. Okay, who's there? Well, what a surprise. Harry Kane. Then Richarlison, obviously, when he was in his rich vein of form. You know, probably trying to get a move. Mercenary, aren't they? All mercenaries. Vardy, then Ronaldo, and then Jota. Now, of course, Jota's obviously moved across into the forwards, but yeah, there we go. I think that's a player who probably, unfortunately, will no longer be in my plans this year. Clearly injured at the moment, but all the same, I think it's fairly straightforward from this. I tell you, there's one player who does jump out at me a little bit, and I think we'll talk about him a bit later, is Vardy. Points per start 1, bonus points, baseline bonus points 2, returns 2, goals ranked 2. When he's on the pitch, Vardy returns. The trouble is, how long is he going to be on the pitch for? And
he'll start. I think starting with Vardy is perfectly reasonable. He always.
I don't think it's bad at all. The only thing I would say is that I think potentially there's a couple of holes in there, but there's probably a couple of blanks as well. I think, knowing Leicester, they are. I think what term did I use earlier on Penguins? Or was it dynamite or dog poo?
Yeah, there you go.
The fixtures pretty much for Leicester going to start with, and if you sorted it if you put the facts of the fixture difficulty in, then Spurs leap to the top. Kane and Richarlison, and of course you've got the worry about Richarlison's minutes. So really, it's only Kane at this moment in time for me at that price point. Bear in mind, of course, Haaland is not there. Why? Because there are no stats for him. So remember, if you don't see a player, it's because there are no stats. The predictions: Haaland, 34 points. Kane, 33 points. This is game week 1 to 5. Vardy, 27. Ronaldo, 24. Yeah, right. Jota, 19 or 20 points. So, yeah, there we go. Kane and Haaland, standout picks. Vardy, an interesting option if you want to save yourself a couple of million. But going without some of these high EO players quite early on could be a masterstroke, or it could be an utter unmitigated disaster. I don't know where you are on all this. I mean, you're at the moment on Kane, right?
Yes.
Right.
Surprisingly.
Did you heard that, Haulers? Gabe is on a Spurs player.
Maybe 2.
Shut the front door. Maybe. Seriously?
Maybe.
2?
I might have to throw Perisic in there after seeing those shot creation stats.
It's time for one of the old tricks. My chair's just collapsed. Yeah.
Mine too.
Really? God, 2 of them? My goodness me. Hell. What we're going to do, you watch. The trouble is, you know what's going to happen if you own 2 of them? They're going to bloody blank, aren't they? Yep. It'll be your fault.
And then I'm going to rant about them, and then they're going to haul. Life is suffering, Mariner. Life is suffering.
That would be excellent. So let's put them all together then, and let's see who jumps out. It's still Welbeck on the winning space of the numbers. Can you believe it? Welbeck, top of all, and top overall on production. 5th for minutes, 3rd for assists, 3rd for point for starts, 4th for bonus points, 4th for returns, 4th for NetxG, 4th for expected goal involvement out of all forwards.
I think we lost some subscribers, man.
Harry Kane ever present, right? Okay, no problem. 5th for goals, 6th for points, 12th for bonus, 5th for returns, 4th for expected goal involvement. Yeah, well, there we go. Then Richarlison, then Jesus, then Vardy. Werner, I know there's been some laughter in the chat about Werner, and rightly so in many senses. Ronaldo, Nketiah, Calvert-Lewin, Firmino, Tony. Watkins, not even been in the discussion. Not even in the discussion. Is it right that Watkins is not in the discussion, Gabe?
No. Watkins should be in the discussion. Right. He should be in the discussion for sure.
Yeah.
They have good fixtures. As long as they play that 4-3-3 and not the 4-4-2 that Jared tried, he should definitely be a consideration. I wouldn't fault anybody for starting with Watkins. Yeah. The one thing I'll say about Kane is look at his assist numbers. He's usually pretty good with assists, and he's ranked 22nd. Is that right?
Yeah.
I expect that to go up.
Yeah. I agree. There's some anomalies there, but we've got to take a period of time to try and do this. So, just so happens.
And then Welbeck is 3rd for assists, but 24th for XA.
That's weird. I don't quite know what's going on there, but there's something there for some reason. It is correct. I can promise you it's correct. I just don't. Maybe it's the fact that all the numbers are just so close. I don't know. Who knows?
Could be.
And by power rank, so we've got Kane first, Richarlison, Firmino, then with Jota injured, Werner, Vardy. So Kane basically jumps out as being if you want a tried and tested forward for game week 1, it is Harry Kane without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
However, probably partnering with a player like Jesus would be infinitely sensible. From my side, probably just for his ownership, right? You know,
I mean,
Jesus
Harry
again.
Kane's ownership it's in the 20s, I think.
No, I'm talking about Jesus. Really, I mean, even
Jesus,
if you were
for
if
sure.
you were going to oppose him, you know, for me, Jesus could be an argument to not go one up front, unless you're going with him. Right? Maybe you're doing the double premium in midfield, perhaps. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe Son and KDB, perhaps, which maybe some people are going that route. Maybe if that's the case, you could go with Jesus up front on his own.
Yeah, so I did make a draft like that, but then what happens if something unforeseen Nketiah starts in a match and you have
and then you've no
Jesus,
forward.
and you have no forward.
Yeah, but I think, you know, again, I think this is where these 5-4-1 drafts start to fall apart a little bit, and that is, you just look at that look what's there. There's just nothing there. Your bench will be threadbare, won't it?
Yeah, I think 5-4-1, and the one needs to be a premium forward. It needs to be Harry Kane.
Yeah, and it's a little bit. I mean, I also find it a bit inflexible as well. But
yeah, agreed.
But yeah, anyway, and then we go all forwards in the season, and there we go. Now we're a bit more details. Kane jumps to the top. That's by on-field stats. Antonio, in fact, it's not by production. Yes, sorry, Antonio. Obviously, for the start of the season, Tony's up there a bit higher. Jesus is still there even over the season, Gabe. Still fairly high. And then Ronaldo about 6 as well. Again, come and have a look at it. I'm just a bit mindful of time. Want to get to the questions, but yeah, it's always worth putting these tables up and just having it, because I think what you can do is you can pick little patterns out with these if you study them very, very carefully. From the perspective of the haulers, all this information will be available in the Discord as well, so you can trundle across and have a look. Ducky's laughing about Watkins in the chat, and Blue Danube Joe is saying 3 great fixtures first up for Villa. Matchup doesn't really see that, Joe, to be honest. It doesn't get them as being great, but I agree with you. I don't think they're bad. Would I spend 7.5 million on Watkins if I've got a feeling that Bailey starts? Probably not. What about you, Gabe? Are you more likely go with Bailey?
Yeah, I mean, 5 million. If he's starting, I think Bailey's the one to go. Just less risk.
Yeah. And then if we sort it out by fixtures and start to weight the fixture difficulties in, obviously Yotta's injured anyway, but Kane, then Tony, Richarlison, Firmino, usual suspects all leap to the top. So yeah, so that's the information on that. And very quickly, if we put all forwards in, there we go. Who's top of the hub charts? Haaland 34.1, Kane 33.3, Vardy 27.1, Gabby Jesus 26.4. Very, he does appear on both metrics, doesn't he? Ronaldo's still there and Welbeck, where we could have cut them 2 off, perhaps, and maybe we should. Right, Gabe, that's the thing on the forwards. Now what we want to do, have we got any questions? Did you see any questions flying around on the forwards which we could answer right now?
I just want to address Siva's question really quickly here because it's off topic, and I just want to say, look, Siva says, since Gabe likes Vardy, how does he feel about young prospect Harvey Barnes? We're talking forwards here, Siva, so I'm just going to keep us on track, and I'm going to ignore your question.
He knows. Siva knows. He knows your hatred of Harvey Barnes. That's like the Mahrez questions that I was getting on Penguin's bloody stream earlier on. Everyone knows how bad.
People know who to troll us with.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I was going to say, here's a question. You just took it on, put it on the screen. How serious is Vardy as a prospect for the first 7 or 8 game weeks? I don't. It's a horrible. We were talking about this earlier, weren't we? I don't hate it. It's the latest thing people are saying on Twitter.
Is that what the kids are saying?
I don't hate it.
Don't hate it.
I don't know that he's. I don't know he's top of my charts with respect to who I would be looking at. I think, to be honest, Kane is, if you, I don't have him. I've got Haaland. So Kane and Haaland, I think one of those two. Jesus is the template. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's a template. I mean, I think Vardy is. It's pointless to look at fixtures or anything like that. Vardy is a serious prospect if you are the type of manager to get a player like Vardy. I think it's not
and maybe
my
if you're
style.
trying to find a couple of extra millions somewhere, and perhaps you've got your two premiums in, you've got your two premiums sat in midfield, or I mean, I've seen 5-2-3. I've seen 5-2-3 formations. I don't like those.
Very inflexible, but yeah, say you want the 2.5 premium thing, and you can't get to the 10 of one of the midfielders like Sterling. You know, I think Vardy is a viable
True
solution.
enough. Yeah, definitely. True enough. So, okay, now we're going to have a quick look at premiums. So, what I've done now is, I know it's a forward show, but today it's time to just lob them all in, right? So
Really quickly, Marina, can I get to one quick question from
Yes,
from
coach
Joe?
can.
So Joe's, whoops, that's not Combe. Bugler says Vardy and Antonio are usually fast starters? Question mark. What that's true for both of them. What I will say about Antonio is, so this is like kind of left field prediction, is that he might be moved to back to wing back. I think Scamacca will eventually have that starting 9 spot over Antonio.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. Again, I just think there's better options than Antonio right now. Far better options right now. Maybe, I mean, I'm not saying he won't be in the discussion at some stage this season. Although, like you say, you got Scamacca at $500,000 less.
Yeah.
Who looks, and like I say, according to his XG, looks quite an elite finisher. I've never seen the guy play, so I've no idea. But looking at his numbers, they look pretty good. Okay, premiums. So premiums, season data per 90. Right, so we've got who tops what. So, okay, let's read across. So, rotation, Kane, most nailed. Expected points, Salah. Points, Salah. Value, Son. Goals, Salah. Assists, Salah. Non-penalty XG, Salah. XA, KDB. Involvement, adding them two together, Salah. Big chances, Salah. Big chances created, KDB. Shots in the box, Salah. Shots on target, Salah. Bonus points, baseline, it is KDB. There we go.
And goals?
And goal. Did I say goals?
Yeah. Did you say Vardy?
Sorry. Goals is comeback. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
My bad. It's getting very late here. Salah and Vardy combined, 0.7 equal first, 0.75 for goals per 90. All right. Now, let's take that into account and let's put their prices in and recalculate these and see what it works out as like a per million type of value. All right. Let's see what happens now. Expected points, Salah. Points, Salah. Value, Salah. Goals, Sterling. Assists, Son. Non-penalty XG, Salah and Vardy. XA, Salah. XI, expected involvement, Salah. Big chances, Salah. Big chances created, Vardy. Which is ridiculous because it's Odie's price, which has pulled that down. Shots in the, I had to check that one. Shots in the box is Salah. Shots on target is KDB. And bonus points is Salah. Salah is the best value player in the game. It doesn't matter which way the road leads to Rome. I've finally not said that word about the cat. That statement about the cat. I've not said it. It doesn't matter which way you look at it. Salah is the best asset in the game.
Well done. Well played.
That's it. That's as far as I can say. What do you think?
Yeah.
Are you in agreement there? Tell you what, I'm quite surprised about. I thought Son might be a bit higher. Just shows how elite his finishing is. What do you think?
Yeah, and it's the 12 million I think is a problem for Son. I don't think he should be more than Kane in any world.
Extra point, clean sheet points. I'll tell you what, I swear by that when it comes to captaincy. You know, I hate captaining forwards for that reason.
Sure, but Kane has pens and he's more nailed.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always the same. You know, which one are you going to go for? You could argue you could go for both.
I can't argue that, Marina. That's too much. I'm in my rehab process. I'm doing the best I can.
I'm absolutely convinced. The leader of Fantasy Premier League at the end of Game Week 1 will own both of them and will have captained one of them. There we go. That's my prediction. There we go. Right. Let's have a look at the predictions for all. In fact, it should be all, not should say forwards. That should all premiums, it should say. Again, getting late at night here, I'm afraid. Sorry, guys. Salah top, Son, Kane, KDB, Haaland, and then Trent Alexander-Arnold, another player who is absolutely essential from my side. How many of those players have you got, Gabe, in your drafts? 3. Whether we can afford many more than 3, can we?
Yeah, 3. Because I'm not on a premium, so
yeah.
Salah, Kane, and Trent.
Yeah, Salah, Haaland, Trent for me. So yeah, 3. So okay, so that's the content. So now we can take a few questions. We got through that quite quickly today, which was quite nice. Yeah. I hope it was useful for everybody. Have we got some questions? We've got some questions in the. We got some questions from the haulers, haven't we? From whoops. Here we go. So here we go then. Gabe, first question is basically aimed at Nima, but he's not here. He's getting married again, as we know. So with the season being split into 4 sections, this is from Greenback Golfer, one of our haulers. With the season being split into 4 sections, as Nima has been viewing it thanks to the World Cup and the use of wildcards, is building early team value more important than ever, given the likelihood we won't have the budget spare that developed last year? We already debated this one, haven't we? A little bit. You go first, then I'll jump in.
Sorry, I'm dealing with a spammer in the chat here.
Are you? Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
so. Shall I get in there? I'm always good at things like this. You know, I have great fun. Well, I mean, look, I'll tell you what. I'll start. The first wild card is quite often a very, very good way of building your team value. But once we get to the second one, then it's going to get quite. We could find that it actually could temper our value somewhat, especially if we're moving away from players who we had previously built value with. Normally, you'd wait a bit longer, wouldn't you? So, but team value for me, and again, as a player like I thrive on team value. I also thrive on misfortune, so I hope that bloke's been banned. But anyway, having team values of 107 million for the last 2 seasons, it makes a huge difference. Can't overestimate the need to get on the, and sometimes the timing of the wild card might be to do with that. You're thinking, hang on a minute, I've got all these targets and they're all going to rise, and I might be contemplating to go that way. What about you? Where are you with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think team value is as important this year as it has been.
It's not really more important, is it?
I don't think so. I think what we're all trying to get to 3 premiums as quickly as possible with our team value, and that's kind of the goal. And if we can add a half premium after that would be amazing. But yeah, I think we'll build team value with the first wild card as usual. That's like in most seasons, and then I think the unlimited will just help us reset the teams given like whatever happens, whatever results from the World Cup. And then the second wild card it's like that you make your money in your first wild card, and then your second wild card, that's when you go spend it. Then you don't worry about team value anymore. You're spending it, and you're trying to get get that third premium and so on and so forth.
But of course, we've got almost an extra wild card, which makes it just like I say, for me, you see your team value after your second wild card, and of course, you've probably got rid of players who you had previous value in, rightly, because you've sold them, right? You've used the benefit of that. So then you've got your third wild card coins. You've got to then try to grow it again. Interesting. It'd be an interesting way of it. So it's another little tweak that we're going to have this year. A question from William. I'd love to hear your opinions on booking in an early transfer captaincy game. Here's one for you. I know the answer as well. I'm, of course, talking about Kane to Haaland in game week 2. And yes, I own Mo Salah.
I mean, I don't think you can have the idea, but you can't book that transfer yet. What if Kane gets a hat trick against Southampton? You're going to sell him for Haaland? If Haaland doesn't start against West Ham, you're going to sell him for Haaland? So it's nice to have the idea. You can have certain plans, but you can't book anything. Don't book anything because you know nothing. We know nothing right now, and we're about to learn a whole hell of a lot in game week 1. So just wait till you learn something and then book it after the lessons. That's my advice.
Interesting. I've thought about it. I have. But I've probably decided against it now myself. Hell, I even was talking about taking a -4 just carry on the way my channeling my inner hitman like I did at the end of last season. But no, come on, Mariner, sort yourself out. Get back to playing fantasy football properly, please. Right. Should we start looking at the other questions then? So we've got Carl Valencia, Gabe. Best 4.5 million defender in the game. He is thinking Lewis Dunk. What do you reckon?
I don't know. I think
not easy.
It's not. I want to say Ben White.
Ooh,
he plays right back. He plays center back, so he's pivotal. They paid a lot of money for him. They have great fixtures to start. It gives you a stake in the Arsenal defense for very cheap. I'd go Ben White.
If he was fit, I would have said Tomiyasu.
Right.
But he's not fit. I think, I don't know how far away he is. I do like Lewis Dunk. I wouldn't have him and Sanchez, though. I'd only have one. So if you're going Sanchez, I wouldn't go Dunk. I tend on is the one 4.5 asset who has been in my drafts in the last week or in the last few days has been Ben White. I probably agree with you. I don't know. There's plenty of others. I mean, you could argue about the Leicester assets and things. They're great, but the fixtures aren't great to start with. And now no goalkeeper.
And we don't know that they're great. I
want to see matchups look pretty good. The matchups, some of them.
So do Leeds matchups look good too, but it's a bad defense.
Don't poo-poo my matchups. You should let you.
I'm poo-pooing the teams. I poo-poo teams.
No, I think Ben White's not a bad shout. What about Wolves? What about the Wolves guys? Kilman, nailed. Totally nailed. Not terrible fixtures. Not bad. Aït-Nouri or Johnny, more difficult. More difficult to predict.
Asset, though.
Pardon?
Yeah. I prefer an Arsenal asset. Okay, but not a bad shout. Johnny, Aït-Nouri, whoever's going to start.
Yeah, I think Johnny and Aït-Nouri, the difficulty is the rotation, whereas for me, Kilman's an obvious one. All right, next one then. Is James essential, though? This is from King Harry. Is James essential, though? Let's change the way it's said. Will he do well? Is he going to play right wing back? Well, there's the $1 million question, because every time I picked him, he played bloody centre half. Right side of centre. He is the one of the players who hurt me most last season. Going without him at the start of the season is a worry for me, but I think I can go without him. What about you?
I don't want any heavy Chelsea investment yet. I don't see it in them, and I think James will play mostly center back to start the season against Spurs, against Son. He'll be center back in that matchup against Leeds. Who knows? He could go wing back, but He could be held back to deal with Leeds' pace against Leicester, probably center back. I just don't like it. I don't like these conversations around them.
No. Anyway, we've answered it anyway. You can wait. You don't have to like the conversation anymore because we're moving on to the next question. In fact, we've got 2 questions from David Harrison, another hauler, and we've got the cats decided to turn up and say hello. Diaz and Gabriel, or Cancelo and a 4.5 defender, Gabe. He's already got a 4 million defender. Where are you going to go with this? So Ruben Diaz and Gabriel, or Cancelo and a 4.5?
Cancelo and Ben White.
Yep. Yeah. Next question. Can't add anything to that. Again from David. We'll make an exception, give him a second question, seeing as a super hauler. Is people having problems between Son or Kane, or is it quite easy to choose? I mean, for me, the way I would answer this is very dependent on your structure.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of them are bad picks. I just think it's where it fits in your overall team structure as to which one you're going to go for. Or you may be super brave and go for both, and then maybe hit one of them out or maybe move one of them out in game week 2 if you want to be like one or two people who are thinking of making transfers, but probably lining themselves up a hit probably in game week 3 by doing that, and only been able to make 2 moves. Not that little mini wildcard, which is often quite useful to make in game week 3 with those 3 transfers that you can make for a -4. So yeah, I'd answer that way. Anything you want to add on that or not? You all right with that?
All right with that.
Okay. Another question from Siver. Everyone seems to be on a 4-4-2 for flexibility. Is it overrated? It feels like 5 at the back is pretty obvious with the likes of Perisic, Robertson, Trent, Cancelo, etc. I have to say, I have played with 5-3-2. One of the challenges I've got with it is I find one 4.5 million midfielder. I'm struggling with another one at this moment in time. You can argue, and again, I point you back to the correspondence week. You know, De Silva at Brentford's by no means likely guaranteed to start early doors. Obviously, you've got players like Pereira at Fulham, obviously, fairly obvious one. I don't know.
You could go.
I don't hate 5-3-2, but I don't. I think I'm a 4-4-2. I'm more of a 4-4-2 FPL manager for some reason. I don't know why.
So I mean, I think it's I don't think it's overrated because you get flexibility and you get the value of Nico Williams at 4.0. It's a free player. He costs you nothing because it's the cheapest.
That's the cheapest asset. Yeah, so it's actually in real terms, he's nothing.
So it's a free asset. That's why you go 4-4-2. Also, I mean, but if you want that upside of the back 5, I think you could go Andres Pereira and Leon Bailey at 5.0.
Yeah,
and have Leon. I currently have Leon Bailey first bench, and we'll kind of see where that goes. But I think that's I
think Leon Bailey first bench for 5 million. Though you can afford him to line up with two up top rather than the front 3, because he probably won't start if it's 2 up top. Mm-hmm. But the way he came off the bench against them, that's the one bit I have seen. Actually, I saw a bit of that the game last weekend with Bailey coming off the bench. He looked really sharp. So he's an interest. I don't know. I'm probably still siding on Neto for that 500,000 more. That's where I am at the moment.
Well, yeah. I mean, Neto as well. He's
just that 500,000 more, but I mean, it depends where you are with your structure for your 5-3-2. Because exactly. I mean, again, how much money are you going to pile into that back, right?
Right.
Because if you're going to go 5-3-2, you've got to go with 5 solid point scorers, right? Without a shadow of a doubt, you can't scrimp on it. William, given you only need 2 transfers to change formation, I've also come to the conclusion that the flexibility argument is a bit overrated. We will agree to disagree, William. I think it's very important. I particularly, for me, I am always the sort of player. I'm that type of FPL player who I like to be able to stick or twist, and that's just me. What about you, Gabe?
Yeah, same. Well, I'll say I've been tempted by that 5 at the back and inflexible structures in the past, and I always get to a point in the season where I'm in a bind. Last season, I couldn't get to Ronaldo easily, and I missed out when he first came into the league. So I'm lending more credence to the kind of flexibility argument this season to see if that improves my OR.
Yeah, I mean, look, as I say, I mean, I think flexibility is a number of ways. Flexibility is that $500,000 in the bank as well.
Mm-hmm.
I showed you a draft earlier, didn't I? And I went, first problem, cards on the table. I haven't got $500,000 in the bank. Got to find it. Where am I going to find it from? Any more questions there? Can you say any more?
King Harry.
There was a Perisic one, wasn't there?
Yep.
Perisic, good asset from King Harry. Why or why not? And will he be one of the top scorers in game week 1? Gabe, Spurs fan?
Spurs extraordinaire.
For FPL?
So here's why I have recently put Perisic in my draft after kind of denigrating him all preseason. I've come full 180 on this. So he is in the 97th percentiles for goals per 90, 98th percentile for non-penalty goals. Yes, he has taken some penalty kicks. He is 99th percentile for XG, 99th percentile for non-penalty XG, 99th percentile for XA. He's 97th percentile for goals. Let's see, finding some other stats here. 95th percentile for key passes. This is compared to all defenders or fullbacks. 94th percentile for passes into the penalty area, for crosses into the penalty area, 96th percentile. So and then you look at his defensive stats. Oh, his shot creation stats, 3.41 shot creating actions per 90. And most of those come from, bear with me here, live passes, 2.87 from live passes and crosses. So he just creates. He's an attacker that's learned to play wing back, but he's a provider and a creator, and that's the argument for Perisic. That's why I put him in my draft.
Okay, here's a question. Here's one which we need to think about just to finish us off. I think this will finish off. Donny, thanks for giving me a really long question when it's like midnight, I think, something like that. Later than that. Oh my God, 12:40 a.m. now here in Singapore. Any value in rotating between premiums for captaincy? For example, game week 1, Salah and Kane. Game week 2, KDB and Haaland. Game week 3, back to Kane and Son. Game week 4, Salah and the City for captaincy. Other picks need to be 100% obvious. Issues, I guess. I mean, you're basically assuming that nothing else you need to do in your team, right?
Not just need to do, but you're also assuming that there are no emerging assets that you haven't covered that you might want to jump on to gain value or that have good fixtures or that have a role that you didn't expect. So I think maybe for later on in the season, this could be for a certain part of the season later on when things are a little bit more predictable. I think to plan this kind of stuff going into it, as we said earlier, it's a little difficult, and it assumes you got a lot right. This assumes you got a lot of other things right.
I have thought about it though, haven't I? Because what did I say to you earlier in the week? I'm going to start with Son and Kane, and I'm going to transfer them both out for Haaland and KDB. and then you told me, I think the words were, Chris, you're an idiot. And I thought, yeah, maybe. Anyway, not to worry. We'll see. Who knows? Somebody will. I'm sure somebody will be doing it. There will be players out there who will play that game that way. A guy in one of my mini leagues plays it really super aggressively like that. If it comes off, it's amazing. It doesn't always come off, does it?
I mean, late riser. That's how late riser plays, right? He jumps.
Well, maybe I don't even think late riser plays it that aggressively. I really don't. Yeah. I think you're talking about an ultra aggressive type of scenario. All right, I think that'll do us, guys. Nothing else, I don't think, Gabe. I think we can bugger off. We've managed to get this done at a reasonable time. What do you reckon?
Rubber Ducky says, Donny FPL thinks he can play the perfect game.
We'll carry that chat on in the voice channel of the Discord chat.
Yeah,
Dougie.
let's take that to Discord, boys. Let's go.
It's been saying all week. Is anyone coming in the Discord chat? No. Is anyone? No. Anyway, Gabe, as always. Oops! Oh my God, where have you gone? There we are. As always, thank you very much, my friend. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Great pleasure.
And we are back. Well, have we confirmed when we're coming on next week?
I think we're Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday?
I believe so.
Right.
I'm usually wrong about the dates and times, as you know, though, from our chats. So, I think
it's Wednesday. Is it a morning one for me? It might be Wednesday morning for me.
Correct. Wednesday morning
feeling I'm at the crack of dawn, which is not unusual if Neem's around. So we will be back with Game Week 1 matchup show on Net That Haul on, I think, Tuesday evening UK, Wednesday morning Singapore. Wait for the thing to drop. If you've not already hit like and subscribe, please do right now. We want to get to 2,000. I should have said it earlier. We're very close to 2,000 subs now. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, hit the bell for some notifications. And I think we're going to do some other stuff, Gabe. We're going to start doing some VODs and things as we get started. I know me and you have got to do the NetxG between now and Tuesday.
By next week, we will unveil NetxG on the next episode.
Yeah, we will also unveil a brand new Captaincy Metric as well.
Mm-hmm.
New Captaincy Metric.
And we are working on some shorts, like maybe some short eye test analysis pieces, maybe some FDRs. So stay tuned for that.
I wear shorts all the time. You wear shorts in the desert, right? Is that what you mean? Shorts.
Short videos.
We missed Fire Talk's question. What's his question? Very quick. Hurry up.
Get it in there, Fire Talk. I'm going to look for it as well because we absolutely did miss it. Apologies for that, Fire Talk. Did not see it in there.
Nah, I didn't see it.
Oh, you know why? Because it came in right before all of the spam. Here it is. It's a good question. How is KDB better?
I'll answer him in the chat. Tell him I'll answer it. I'll answer him outside. We need to.
I'll just reread the question for the podcast listeners. How is KDB better XA per 90, but Salah better XA per 90 but price? Good question. Get an answer from Mariner in the chat, maybe in Discord.
Right? It could be a mistake. It was done quite late at night, but I don't think it is. But anyway, there we go. Gentlemen, ladies, it's been a pleasure as always. It is time for us to get the hell out of here. Gabe, see you soon.
Good night.
All the best, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.